name is James Okumu. Thank you so much for tuning in. We will be getting into our Family Matters discussion for today. Remember, today is Tuesday, so we are going to be having Parenting Tuesday. That's coming up shortly. Before we get into that, I have my question for the day for you this morning. And the question is, are you doing what you've always wanted to do, or are you forced into it by circumstances? You know, when we are growing up, when we are kids, we have all these huge dreams of things you want to become. You go through to school, you get into college, and you kind of have an idea. Maybe by high school, this is what I want to do. So the question is, are you doing what you've always wanted to do, or is it something else that you are forced into by circumstances? SMSs coming in on 20316, WhatsApp on 0786 316 316. And as you answer that question, let me sample the dailies for you today. Daily Nation, big story. Karibu Suluhu. Why visit is big deal. It says Kenya and Tanzania are working to reset their relations with today's arrival of President Samia Suluhu to Nairobi, signaling rapprochement following strained ties during the tenure of her predecessor, John Pombe Magufuli, who died on March the 17th. Coming on the invitation of President Kenyatta, it points to a desire to turn a new leaf on the two neighbors and the region's challenges and opportunities. That's the big story right here, front page Daily Nation. Lakini hapa pia naona wame-mention mkate. You know, when you mention mkate, some of us just become a lot because we love mkate. It says bread to cost more in Yatani budget. Yani wanataka kutuongezea bei ya mkate. It says motorcycles, imported jewelry, betting and nicotine pouches will also attract higher taxes in what is said to be President Kenyatta's final full-year budget. Yani they have put together the motorcycles, imported jewelry, betting and nicotine pamoja na mkate surely. Na mkate ni ya kila siku. Give us this day our daily bread. That story is on page 4 and page 5. There's a sad story on page 3 of the Daily Nation today. It says police curfew roadblock cost ailing baby her life. That is just sad. Police in Keroka have come under fire following the death of a 4-month-old baby whose family believes could have been avoided had they not been blocked at a curfew roadblock in Nyamira County. They were rushing the baby to hospital. It was past the curfew hours. They were blocked. Wakakaa hapo, I don't know for how long. You need to read the story to find the full details. The baby didn't make it. That is just sad. Oh my goodness. It says we were held for more than 40 minutes despite having a referral letter from Gucha Hospital. That, my friend, is just sad. I hope that's a story that will be followed up, so you can read the details in the local dailies. On matters politics, it's D-Day. Fate of BBI bill to be known today. Speaker Muturi and Lasaka to make a ruling on whether or not MPs can amend draft law. That's in the dailies. There's also quite a bit of politics in here. You can take a look at it. There's a feature on war on gender-based violence. There's a story here, victim living in fear as rapist roams free. Perpetrator is yet to be arrested 7 months later. That is such a sad story. Jumping on to the center pages of the local dailies this morning, there's quite a bit from the counties, but the pullout is the Smart Company. It says corporate Kenya bleeds 58 billion bob and counting. Last financial year will remain one of the most painful periods for investors on the Nairobi Securities Exchange, as they have had to deal with lack of dividends and capital flight. That's the big story right there. You can check out more on that. Usually today, the Daily Nation has got several pullouts. The second one is SMEs, how I built a 100 million shilling award-winning digital marketing company. Now, that's a story many of us would want to read and find out. At 100 what? You build a what? A 100 million shillings award-winning digital company. That's a good read right there. You can take a look at it. It is a wonderful story. Trying to see the name of this guy. Anyway, tafuta gazeti usome. You'll find out more details about that. And then the third pullout is Health in Nation. What is it talking about today? A to Z of vaccines. We, umechanjwa? Ama bado unangotea? Have you received the vaccine or you're still waiting? The vaccine has got a lot of stories around it, but I hope that if you qualify to receive it, you've gone on ahead to receive it. It says, what are they made of? Why is the injection done on a specific part of the body? These and other vaccine questions answered. Take a look at that story on the Healthy Nation pullout. Very, very informative information, especially in this season that we are in. And then also too much water, too little food as Mother Nature fights back. That's also in the Healthy Nation, focusing on matters environment. Back pages, our hands are tied on the gender rule. MPs tell court enforcing rule would require amendment of constitution on membership of parliament. And then in sports, it is all about the UEFA Champions League semi-finals. We thrive on teamwork. Pep says as City look to kill off PSG. Semi-finals, my friend. Take a look at that. Also, I'm seeing something on World Athletics Relay Championships, and then a bit of motorsporting also in the sports section of the Daily Nation. Those are some key stories you will find in the dailies today. Grab yourself a copy, keep yourself informed on what's happening both locally and also internationally, and I believe that will be a great thing. Shortly, we get into our Parenting Tuesday discussion for today. The question I'm throwing out to you is, are you doing what you've always wanted to do, or were you forced into doing what you're doing currently? 20316 SMS line, WhatsApp number 0786 316 316. Make sure 5 p.m. tonight you tune into Family TV, because we're going to be having Just Kidding. And one of the wonderful things we have on Just Kidding is the riddle section. You know how children are curious and how they love to answer questions? Make sure you tell your children to tune in from 5 this evening for Just Kidding. We have amazing things that are happening. A wonderful way for the children to get to learn about the Bible stories, and when we ask them the riddles, they tend to remember more. So make a date with us. That's 5 p.m. tonight on Family TV. Question I was asking you is, are you doing what you've always wanted, or were you forced into what you're doing by circumstances? Mama Mbula, how are you doing today? You say you're not doing what you wanted to do. You always wanted to be a doctor, but you were forced by circumstances to get into what you are doing. And then Eunice in Mariakani says, I'm definitely not doing what I thought I would do. I told my cousin to apply for me a course that doesn't involve maths, and I never understood clearly. Kile nilikuwa ninasomea mpaka second semester in the first year, but since I got my job, I love it because I work with children living with disabilities, and they make one to be grateful every day. Good for you, my friend. Good for you. You're impacting the next generation. This morning, we get to hang out with Martha Sunda, Executive Director, Childline Kenya. Martha, how are you doing?
I am well, and how are you?
I'm very fine. You seem excited.
I am excited, and it's bright on this side.
Wow, great. Good to have you. We were also supposed to have Sami Mwangi with us to share his story, but Sami, for some reason, I think he's been having problems with his internet connection, so we've not been able to connect to him. But today we want to talk about parents who want to live their dreams through their children. And I'm just wondering, Martha, is that really a bad thing? If I want to live my dreams through my children, is that a bad thing?
Bad is relative.
Okay.
Let's look at it this way.
Mm-hmm.
When you're forced to do something that is not within your capacity, not within your personality and interest,
mm-hmm.
then you struggle in that area. There are people who have gone through who are forced to take a certain path, and they were able to fit in and move on. But the majority, I think, struggle with it, and so it makes their life very difficult. Like when it rains and you're thinking, so who is going back to that office again? You're not excited to do it.
Yes. But Martha, I was just
what you wanted.
I was thinking back in the day, 19 turudi nyuma, different families had different crafts. And so you knew this family, they are blacksmiths. This family are ni wakulima. This family, they are traders. Why is it that back then we didn't have all these issues we are having? My parent is trying to live my dream through me. There was just something that the family was known for. Why is it wrong today?
It is possible that it was even wrong at that time.
Oh, really?
But but the opportunities to talk about it or to share your concerns did not exist. You didn't have a choice.
Mm-hmm.
But now I have a platform where I can say, Mr. Key story, but that time you didn't have a choice.
Yeah.
It was already set out for you. Even married, girls were married at 13 or even younger, and it wasn't a big deal. They didn't have a choice. But at this point, I can say no.
Yes.
I have a right, or the law says, I have all those options.
Yeah.
So I think the situation was the same, only the platforms to air those concerns were limited.
Okay. Let's look at this parent. Why would a parent want to live their dreams through their children? What would drive a parent to push their child to do a particular course? And there are two scenarios here. There's that parent who had a dream to become a doctor. Maxi kakata, Bwana asifiwe. And so they ended up doing something else, and so they're pushing their child to become this doctor that they didn't become. That's the first scenario. The second scenario is where this is a family of accountants. Surely your grandfather was an accountant. I am an accountant. Read the dotted line, my friend. It runs in the family. So looking at those two scenarios, what pushes parents to push their children to do certain kind of courses or to become get into certain kinds of careers?
Okay, now for the first one, where you wanted to be and you did not become, there's a certain, usually a prestigious thing around that profession or that thing you wanted to do.
Okay.
And so with the children, you see an opportunity to see that vision come to fulfillment. And so you start suggesting or ensuring that they go to the right places to meet the right people, so that they become that which you wanted to become but you didn't become. And sometimes it's just outright, you must become a doctor.
Yeah.
So you're pushed extra tuition and things like that. They get you the schools you need to attend, blah, 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 until, you have to become. And then there's this other scenario where it runs in the family. Again, usually that is very tricky because you're socialized as a child to move in a certain direction. And so you find some children in the family struggle. But because this is what our family does, they just push themselves against their own will and strength and capability to go in that direction. And they get frustrated. But that's just who we are. Again, like you said, I mean, we are black. So I have no choices.
Yes.
Really, we have to be doctors in this family. Yeah, so those are the factors that are at play, I think, in the families that have children who have been forced in those vocations.
I'm just wondering, I'm trying to think back to by the time I was in high school, getting ready for my Form 4 exams, because now I have to decide what I'm going to do in college. To be honest, how many young people really know what they want to do? And I'm just wondering, what's the bad thing about a parent guiding their child into what the parent thinks? I've been there. Kuishi kwingi ni kuona mengi, And so what's wrong in me guiding my child thinking, you're good in maths, you're good in physics and chemistry, this is your line. Why do you want to become a DJ? Surely, in the next 10 years, did you think DJ will be so flamboyant and glamorous? You need to become something with this, what you have. Is it wrong?
Okay, there's guiding and there's forcing, and those two are different, completely different.
Okay.
So you'll guide me based on my strengths, my interests, and then we won't even struggle, and because it is within my areas of interest, within my personality and liking and hobbies, we won't fight about it.
Yeah.
But when you're forcing me in a certain direction against everything that I am, now that's different, and you will find a lot of friction in that area. I will use my brother, for example. He can kill me later. He did very well, very well in the sciences.
Yeah.
We were sure he was going to be an architect or something like that. Then the guy turns out he loves music.
Oh.
Well, now owns a music school.
What?
Completely out of what we thought he was going to be. And I thank God for my parents. They didn't force him into the sciences to pursue that. Because he performed well academically, but that's not what he wanted to do.
So he's really passionate about music, big time.
Completely. He eats music, he lives music, he thinks music. Music is his life.
Wow.
Yeah, and he's very well.
That is amazing. The other thing we'll talk about shortly is I've always wondered, Now talking about the adults, let's imagine that happened. Your parents forced you to become the architect, and your thing is music. And so you've passed that stage where now your parents really don't have any control over your life. I keep wondering, why is it people don't make the change then? Why is it that people stick to that architecture and you don't love it and you stick to it the rest of your life? Because it is said that a very high percentage, probably in the 90s or 80s, of people who are working don't like what they do. And I keep wondering, why don't you change? So we'll talk about that shortly. In fact, let me throw out this second question to you, and I want to rope you in to be part of this conversation. So I need you to send in your answers via SMS or via WhatsApp. The question is, if you don't like what you're doing, why haven't you changed? Unangojea ruhusa kutoka kwa nani? Why haven't you changed? If really this is not what you wanted to do, Mama Mbula, why are you not a doctor by now? Talk to me. 20316 SMS line, WhatsApp number 0786316316. We are talking about parents who want to live their dreams through their children. Is it a good thing? Is it a bad thing? And I was asking earlier, if you're one of those people who is not doing what you really want to do, why haven't you then changed? I mean, you're waiting for your parents to give you permission. Interesting comments coming in. Vincent from Uthiru, you say, after getting into it, we sometimes have no option of going back. We need to keep moving forward. There's a song that says, you love me anyway. Well, Vincent, that's a lie. Who told you you have no options? There's always options. I have another one here from Mercy. Mercy say, personally, I would have loved to become a doctor, but I didn't make the points. There's no part-time medicine. I have to drop everything and go to class, which is impossible because I have a family to sustain. The only doctor title I can get is a PhD, which I am working on. Okay, that's interesting. But I still think it is possible if you really, really, really want it. And then there's this one from Mama Mbula as well. She says she is not a doctor because in our days, you could only enter the area of medicine straight from university. No opportunities to study medicine were open for me. And now I feel like I'm too old to start getting into books and exams. Mama Mbula, that's a lie. You have believed a lie. Let me tell you a story before we get back to Martha. I read of a gentleman who always wanted to be a doctor, but circumstances like yours. So they went through life, they had a career, and they retired, I think at 55. And they decided, you know what? That was part one of my life. Let me get into part two. They went back to school. They did 8 years medicine. Yeah, from 55. By the time they were graduating, I think they were 63 or 64. And the second part of their life, guess what? They were a doctor. You know, sometimes we think you're old because you're 50. Probably you have another 50 years or another 40 years. You're only halfway through your life. This one is for Mama Mbula and the other individual who wanted to be a doctor. Ebu wacheli story mingi and then shule become the doctors. So Martha, the question was, if this is not what we wanted to do, you know, and we'll go back to the parents, but now for the children, now we are grown up. Some of us, our parents forced us into something we didn't want. Now we are grown up. We are making choices for our own lives. Why is it that many people don't go back to that thing they really wanted to do?
I think the viewers have already given us part of the answer. One is that you feel you have already invested so much into this, and the price you have to pay for you to get what you wanted is a bit high, or at least in your estimation, it's not worth it. The time that you will need to put into it, perhaps the resources, the adjustments you will need to make in your family life or in your everyday life. And then you're thinking, anyway, it is at least putting food on my table. Let's just do this. And then there's also the fact that it is paying. What I'm doing now is paying. I don't like it, but I get money at the end of every season.
Yeah.
And so really I am able to sustain myself, take care of my children and other responsibilities. It's not what I wanted, but I can do with it. And so most of the people are boxed into those situations.
Yes.
And they think, well, it's fine, it already happened, so let's move on.
Let's just keep moving.
And then of course, I'm too old is also a story, like Mama Mbula has said. Then you're thinking, who is going to be doing maths again? for some reason, maths is not a very motivating subject.
Yes.
And so people decide, it's fine. It's fine.
In fact, listen to this one. Maybe you can say something on this one. This one says, "Good morning. I had always wanted to be a lawyer, lakini Max ilikata. I've been asking my son to be one, but he wants to be an astrophysics, whatever that is. Could I still do law? And I'm on the 5th floor." So they had a dream. It didn't come to fruition. They're trying to push their son into that dream. The son doesn't want. They're wondering, can I still go back to my dream and I'm in the 5th floor?
I think it's possible, really, especially in something like law. It is something you can do progressively.
Yeah.
You don't have to really start way back to do it. Yes, I think they can still do it. And be happy, like the doctor you have given us the example of.
Very true. I'm sure they've been toying with this idea maybe for the last 7, 8, 9 years. Had they started, by now they would have finished. By now they would probably be that lawyer. Let's go back to this scenario with parents and children. One of the things I recognized myself is that when I sometimes think about my kids, I try and think in terms of how life was when I was their age. And so when I was their age, you know, the glamorous careers were becoming a lawyer. By the way, I wanted to become a lawyer. Max ilikata, lakini, now when I look back, I don't think I want to be a lawyer. Me, I love what I'm doing. I think I was cut out for this. But the lawyer, the engineer, the architect, that was the glamorous. And so we tend to want to push our kids into those. But when I look at life now, there are careers that were non-existent. There are some we are still discovering. And so I'm just wondering, how do you balance as a parent? Because every parent, I'm assuming, wants the best life for their children, and that is why sometimes we push them into these careers. We think this is what you need to do.
I think parents need to stop being lazy, because I think it's just a very lazy way of facing life. We need to look at what our true situations are now. Like you have said, there are some careers that did not exist. IT, for example. What was that? You know?
Yeah.
But now it's the in thing. And with COVID, it's the main career that people need to consider. Because for you to survive now, you have to be online, be conversant with several things IT. So we need to be alive to the fact that we're in a different dispensation. We have different situations. And then we prepare our children to adapt accordingly. We actually do not know what career would be the in thing in the next 10 years.
Yeah.
We really don't know.
Very true.
So for us to have children below 5, we can't start pushing them towards IT, for example, because it is the in thing now. What about we just prepare them to face life as it comes, so that they will fit in to whatever it is that will come when they are adults, without forcing them to be teachers and IT staff and blah, blah, blah. I think it's unfair also.
Very true.
Yeah.
Very true. What happens, or what do you do as a parent when you feel like your child is making the wrong choices in terms of what they want to do? You know, you feel like they're wasting their life and they're adamant about it. As a parent, what do? Do you force them to do what you want them to do, or how do you reach a compromise?
I think there's a place for guidance and counseling, just so that you also understand where your child is coming from. Remember, exposure is different. When you go to school, when I go to group of schools, for example, the exposure there and pressure is different.
Yeah.
From when I am in at the River Prisons Primary School, where I went to school. The pressure is different. The demands to do certain things are different. So it is important to understand what is pushing your child in that direction, and then give them facts of life. And it has to be facts. There's no myths here. Facts. If you do this, then this is what might happen. These are the possibilities that are out there. So the child has a good picture and is able to make informed decisions. So they'll tell you, despite all these options you've given me, I still think I want to go this way. Or because of this that you have shared with me, I think I want to change to something else without forcing them. And that also takes time, because it won't be today we sit here and figure this out.
Yeah.
something that you do over time. So you invest a lot of time with a child to understand them, for them to understand you, understand life in its all in the perspective that it is in, then make an informed decision. Calling people to help you. Again, sometimes they will think of you as your mom, so just talk. But you can bring someone else to speak to the child, and it won't water down your position as parent. It will just reinforce your place in guiding that child in the right direction.
Okay. I think sometimes as parents, we also allow, we look at this whole picture from the point of what I have invested in this child. And you feel like I've invested so much in you to go in this direction, and you want to go in this direction. I feel like, you know, you've really wasted me. It's no longer about you now, it's about me. The reason I say that is I remember a friend of mine, the child finished high school and he wanted to do financial engineering. Thinking like, kuna kuwaga na financial engineering. Hiyo ni ya kufanya nini, ya kushikanisha pesa na screwdriver. You know, so the dad, said, this is what you want to do, fine. And the dad paid. And the guy began going to class. And I think after one trimester, he realized, this is not what I want to do. This is not it. You know, and he was so afraid to talk to his dad about it because the dad had paid fees for the whole year, and it's not a cheap course. It was expensive. Until one time they're having conversations, and the dad had realized, okay, this guy is struggling to go to school, so what's the deal? And the young man finally opens up and says, you know, okay, Dad, to be honest, I've realized this is really what I don't want. This is not really what I want to do. I want to do this. I want to do more of the media stuff. And the dad says, fine. Si ungesema tu mapema, that's fine. And the young man is thinking, what about the fees you've paid? You're not mad about that. Thankfully, the dad is a sensible man. He said, hey, my friend, we learned through some errors. Don't sweat the fees. We'll find a way. If you've connected with this and this is what you really want to do, I'll give you all the support you want. But not all parents are there. Nimekulipia 500,000, $500,000. Do you know where that $500,000 came from? And now you're telling me do you want to do what? Utafanya na umalize na utafute kazi hiyo ingine utafanya na pesa yako. I don't know what you think about sometimes how we look at it as an investment that is going to waste.
I think also our understanding of what investment is differs, because there's investing in the person for their own good, and there's investing in the person financially and feeling cheated. And I think many parents fall in that category. So they're feeling cheated. That you said you wanted, and then I paid, and then now you have changed, you know. But really, I have never done financial engineering. But I have gotten in there and found out it's not my thing, really. So how do you invest in me to go a different direction that will be more useful for me?
Okay.
As opposed to the fact that because you have paid, then I have to do it. So that kind of investing in the individual, despite everything else, is what we lack as parents. But also, again, because of our economic situation, you're thinking, where will I get that money again? So I think we need to strike a balance where, yes, there's the financial investment that sometimes hurts when you have to do a little more than you expected, but to be more concerned about investing in the person as the person for their future.
Okay. Shortly, we'll talk about what happens to that child who is forced to do something they really have no passion for, they didn't want to do it, but because their parents are so strict and so firm, they end up doing it. What does that do to the child? And even when they become an adult and grow up, how does that affect them? If you have any questions for us today, 20316 is the SMS line. WhatsApp number 0786 316 316. Parents who are living their dream, they want to live their dreams through their children. It is Parenting Tuesday. We are hanging out with the Executive Director of Childline Kenya. This is Martha Sunda. We are talking about parents who want to live out their dreams through their children. Now, Martha, before we talk about the effects of this child who's forced into doing something they don't want to do, I have a very interesting question here. This one is coming in from Martha Ann. Martha Ann is asking, what about a child who isn't academically inclined and they want to drop out of school at Form 2 to chase their passion? As a parent, what do I do?
Wow. The reality of the world today is that this person stands a better chance at anything if they have the certificate of secondary education.
Yes.
So I think that is what we need to lay down for the child to understand. All right, you don't like school, you're not very good academically, but please, you need this certificate for you to be able to meaningfully pursue anything, including what your passion is, even if it is DJing or music or whatever it is, so that they understand that and they cooperate with you to finish the remaining 2 years, get the certificate, and pursue whatever it is that they want.
Very true.
So that reality needs to be broken down for the child to understand.
I love that. Yeah. And you know, Martha, when you share that, I remember hearing the story of a parent who was in a similar predicament. The child wanted to drop out because the child recognized, I am not academically inclined. It's a struggle. It's a waste of time. And the child was telling their dad, buy for me a matatu. Me, I just love business. I think I can do business. And the dad told him the same thing you've said. Finish Form 4, get the certificate. Forget about how many marks you get. Finish.
Yes.
Do your best. Finish. After Form 4, I'll buy you a matatu. And the child went through school. They finished Form 4. The dad bought for them a matatu, and the dad began helping them to manage this matatu. Cut a long story short, the guy, by the time I was hearing this story, owned a fleet of matatus. He was a very successful businessman, you know, because their dad recognized as well, this is their line, and their dad set them up. So back to the question before we run out of time, what happens to these children who are forced into doing things they really have no passion for and they don't want to do? What happens to them?
A good number become frustrated. So you find someone who is generally unhappy. You know, someone who is really not excited about things because of where they find themselves. And sadly, you find they also end up being people who are abusive even to their children.
Wow.
And they don't, and they don't enjoy parenting because of how they also see their parent in their lives. And so in that way, it doesn't only affect them, it affects other people around them, their workmates, their spouse, their children, the people they just interact with. They have a negative vibe around them. And two, you find if that person is in a place of authority, then they don't take it seriously, or they work at frustrating people. And so it becomes very frustrating, not just for them, but also for me, who hasn't been served by this person. So those are some of the effects I can think about now of children who are now adults and who have been forced in a certain direction, but they're not really into it.
You know, sometimes as parents, somebody was saying that, you know, sometimes as parents we push our children into certain careers because of the prestige around the career, and also because of the money aspect. In this career, you will earn a lot of money. I'll never forget one time I was attending a personal development class, and it was all about purpose and how to find your purpose and how to connect with your purpose. And the thing that surprised me is we had a doctor in the class. A doctor.
Yes.
I mean, they were earning some pretty serious change. Yeah?
Yes.
The car they were driving, my friend, it is the ones you see in magazines and say, Jehovah one day. If not in this life, maybe in the life to come. But here they were in the same class with us, and they were saying they don't like what they're doing. Our jaws dropped to the floor like, what? What do you mean you don't love what you're doing? And they said, yeah, I have the money, but I don't have fulfillment in life, and that's why I'm here. And I think that's something important to recognize.
It is true. It is true. And you find at least this person went for personal development class. Some people do not. You hear someone just committed suicide.
Wow.
And you went, really? They're a doctor, they're doing well, their family seems to be doing well, and it's a model family, you know, life goals. But they're not happy. They're really not happy. They don't know how to go about fixing the situation. They decided to just end it.
Okay.
You know, because of the frustration of it all.
As we get close to wrapping up, I'm thinking for us parents today, we have a greater challenge than our parents did. When our parents were parenting us, careers were very few. You know, if you're not a doctor, you're a lawyer. In fact, for me, when I was growing up, everybody wanted to be a banker. When I was growing up, every lady went to college to do secretarial.
Yes.
That was life. Very simple, very clearly laid out. But today, We have careers that are emerging. I'll never forget a couple of weeks ago, I was doing this very show, Parenting Tuesday, and one parent texted in and they said, my son wants to be a gamer. They want to play video games as a career. Are they mad? And I told her, by the way, it is actually a career and they get paid some serious money. Please investigate and look into it. So I'm saying that to ask the question, and it's almost a comment question in one. What's the importance of us parents in this generation educating ourselves on what is happening in the job market today?
As we had mentioned earlier, it is important for us to be alive to our current situation, which is the exact same thing. It also includes career. Because that way, when your child is talking about gaming, you don't start thinking, what is that? You know, it clicks already. You already know what it is. You know what investment goes into it. You know exactly what returns might come out of it. So you're not caught off guard. And even if you're caught off guard, it's okay to say, let's talk about this later. And then you do your research. It doesn't hurt at all. Then you come back together again and you now discuss from a point of information. This is what I know. This is what the situation is. This is what I have researched. This is what I have found out. So that way, you're not struggling to guide your child. You already know this is their general area, and you're able to tell them what if this also seems to have the same benefits as this one. Would you like to consider it? In the next 5 years, this is what is foreseen. Maybe this will be out of fashion. So it is a meaningful discussion. Nobody is feeling threatened, and everyone feels have a responsibility to make a good decision based on the information that is here with us that I have found out. So it is fun also growing with the child, exploring all these options with them, and they feel supported. Knowing that they might make a wrong move, but you're there to work with them, change course if you need to, and just be like a big brother for them, be able to make those decisions and move on. So we have to take all measures to understand the situation and to also serve it age appropriately for this person. It doesn't make sense to come with codes that the child doesn't understand in the name of guiding them. But you have to understand it first before you can break it down for them based on their age and their exposure levels as well.
Finally, Martha, as we wrap up, I also recognize that looking at my parents' generation and partly my generation as well, we have this loyalty thing concerning what we do for a living. My mom worked the same job all her life for the same company, you know, and so being brought up with a parent like that, I also have similar inclinations, but not as strong as hers were. But I recognize the children we are raising today, if they do the same job for 3 years, they have tried. They have been loyal, they have tried. They move like locusts and grasshoppers. Today they are here, tomorrow they are gone. And I think sometimes as parents we find it hard. At sasa unafanya kazi gani? Our last born sister, I don't know, this is like her 5th job. And she gets some serious jobs and I keep thinking, which God do you pray to? I mean, she's changed careers like, I don't know, 4 or 5 times. So as parents, how do we adjust to that?
I think it's very difficult for parents to adjust, especially our parents.
Yes.
Perhaps not us as parents, but our parents, because they're wondering, this person is not serious. And please note, even as employers, when we look at the CV, we are thinking, you only did 3 years here. I need someone who will stay with us, you know, about 5 years, for example. So you disqualify that person based on the fact that they have kept moving from one job to another, which I think is unfair. Because we need to allow people to find their place. In a year or 2, someone has already known whether they want to stay here or not. And it also provides opportunity for growth. So we need to see the growth aspect of this child, even as they do many things. They're learning new skills. They're being exposed to different scenarios, different people, different cultures, and that all combined helps them to grow to a better person, I believe. So we need to just desensitize ourselves, like you know, when you're toning down on what you think is ideal,
yes,
and just looking at the real, in the true scenario that you're in, so that you're not left behind by the bus, so to speak.
Martha, our time is up for today. What's your parting shot as we finish?
Oh, I think we need to invest in knowledge, invest in knowledge, and also provide avenues for our children to openly share with us what is in their hearts.
Mm-hmm.
And also that we guide them with information, with facts. So we need to invest time in the children, but also invest time in research so that we meaningfully guide our children.
Great.
And it is our responsibility, everybody, parents, pastors, big sisters and brothers, everybody, to guide a child in the right way, preferably in the ways of the Lord. Yeah.
Martha, thank you for your time and thank you for being with us today. We truly appreciate your knowledge. I believe wazazi wamepata kitu ya kushikilia to point them in the right direction. That's all the time we have for the Parenting Tuesday today. Thank you so much for tuning in.
For this and more of our shows, log on to www.familymediaonline.com to enjoy a wide variety of programs, from current affairs to testimonials and features, pastoral and inspirational shows, kids entertainment, and so much more. Also stream live on www.familymedia.tv.